Imagine being left with nothing but the clothes on your back and the items you find in the trash. The world as you know it has taken a turn for the worst, and the safety net of your home is but a memory. Welcome to the first chapter of our survival guide, where we explore the art of resourcefulness, a skill that's not just practical but essential. Consider the homeless who survive each day with limited supplies, their possessions pared down to the bare essentials. They've honed the art of resourcefulness to a fine point, turning the mundane into the miraculous. A plastic bag isn't just a plastic bag to them, it becomes a layer of insulation against the biting cold, a makeshift sock to keep their feet dry, or a container to carry their scant belongings. But the resourcefulness of the homeless extends beyond the physical. It's also about the mindset. Faced with scarcity, they've learned to find value in the overlooked, the discarded. They've mastered the art of repurposing, transforming everyday items into tools, clothing, and more. A discarded soda can morph into a cooking pot. A broken umbrella becomes a makeshift shelter. Each item, no matter how insignificant it seems, holds potential. This resourcefulness isn't just about survival. It's about resilience, about the ability to adapt and make do with what's available. It's a way to reclaim some control in a world that seems to have spiraled out of control. And for those who find themselves in survival scenarios, these skills can be the difference between life and death. But remember, resourcefulness isn't just about being clever with what you find, it's also about being efficient with what you have. It's about knowing when to hold on to something because of its potential use, and when to let it go because it's just dead weight. With ingenuity and creativity, even the most mundane objects can become life-saving tools. The key is to look at everything with fresh eyes, seeing possibilities where others see trash. And as we delve deeper into this survival guide, we'll discover that this art of resourcefulness is just the beginning. Survival often means staying unseen, a skill mastered by those who live on the streets. When you're surviving in an urban environment, stealth navigation becomes your best friend. Imagine you're a shadow, moving silently and invisibly through the city's veins, unnoticed by the bustling life around you. This isn't a skill that's acquired overnight. It requires a keen understanding of the urban landscape and an innate ability to blend into the city's rhythm. In the concrete jungle, every street and alleyway has its own pulse, its own ebb and flow. Understanding this rhythm is the first step towards stealth navigation. The goal is to move in sync with the city rather than against it. Therefore, it's crucial to observe and learn the patterns of the urban environment. When do the streets get busy? When do they quiet down? What are the patterns of local law enforcement? But understanding the city's rhythm is just the first piece of the puzzle. The second piece is knowing how to utilize less traveled paths. These are the veins of the city that are often overlooked, the alleyways, rooftops, and underground tunnels. These paths offer a degree of invisibility, allowing you to move stealthily and unnoticed. However, navigating these paths isn't always straightforward. It requires a degree of resourcefulness and adaptability. You might have to climb fences, jump over obstacles, or find creative ways around locked gates. But remember, the goal here isn't to break the law or cause trouble. The goal is simply to remain unseen, to blend into the cityscape like a ghost. But why is stealth navigation so important? In an urban survival scenario, attracting attention can lead to unwanted interactions. It can put you in danger, expose you to threats, or even lead to your arrest. Therefore, the ability to move unnoticed through the city is an essential survival skill. It's a skill that can keep you safe, keep you hidden, and ultimately keep you alive. In an urban survival scenario, the ability to move unnoticed can be the difference between life and death. In a world without money, how do you obtain what you need to survive? This question is a stark reality for countless homeless individuals, and their answer? Barter and trade. Yes, you heard it right. The age-old practice of swapping goods and services is alive and well on the streets, and it's a skill we can learn a lot from. Bartering is a lifeline for those living on the edges of society. In the absence of money, trading skills or found items becomes a viable means of accessing life's necessities. Picture this: a street-savvy individual exchanges a found camping stove for a warm coat, or they might trade their skills like fixing a bicycle for a meal. These are real-world examples of bartering in action, and they highlight the ingenuity and resilience of those who live on the streets. Now you might be thinking, that's all well and good, but how does this apply to me? Well, imagine a scenario where the economy has taken a nosedive. Money is scarce, jobs are few and far between, and resources are dwindling. Suddenly, the ability to trade a skill or an item for something you need becomes extremely valuable. In an economic downturn, when cash is no longer king, bartering can be a lifeline. It's a way to gain access to essential goods and services without the need for money. And it's not just about survival, it's about resilience and adaptability in the face of adversity. But remember, successful bartering requires a couple of key skills. First, you need to be able to accurately assess the value of what you have and what you need. And second, you need to be able to negotiate effectively. These are skills that can be honed over time, and they're skills that could make a significant difference when the chips are down. So, take a leaf out of the homeless community's book. Learn to barter, to trade, to negotiate, because in a world where money is no longer a guarantee, these skills could be your saving grace. In times of crisis, the ability to barter can be a lifeline. When food is scarce, where do you turn? That's the question many homeless individuals face daily. Their answer? Urban foraging. Now, this isn't about foraging in the traditional sense where you're sifting through forests for berries and roots. No, this is about finding sustenance in the most unlikely places, the concrete jungle. Let's start with community gardens. These green oases in the city are often open to the public and can provide a source of fresh fruits and vegetables. It's not about pilfering, it's about respectfully participating in the communal cultivation and harvest. After all, many community gardens welcome anyone willing to lend a hand in exchange for a share of the harvest. Next stop, food banks. These organizations offer free food to those in need, and they're more common than you might think. They're a lifeline for many, and can provide a variety of food items from canned goods to fresh produce. Knowing where your local food banks are and their distribution schedules can be a game changer in survival scenarios. But what about when these options aren't available? That's when safely identifying discarded food becomes an essential skill. Now, this isn't about diving headfirst into dumpsters, it's about understanding the systems in place, like when bakeries discard their unsold bread or supermarkets cull fresh produce, and capitalizing on these cycles. Remember, safety is paramount. Food poisoning is a serious risk, so knowing how to identify safe, discarded food is crucial. Look for foods that are still sealed in their original packaging. Avoid anything with signs of mold, unusual smells, or visible decay. And when in doubt, it's always safer to go without. So, when food is scarce, where do you turn? The answer lies in understanding your urban environment and using it to your advantage. Because even in a concrete jungle, there are ways to find sustenance if you know where to look. Shelter is a basic human need, but what do you do when there are no homes available? When you're faced with a situation where the only roof over your head is the one you create, you learn to make do. The streets are brimming with materials that, with a bit of ingenuity, can be transformed into a temporary haven against the elements. Consider cardboard, for instance. It's abundant, lightweight, and surprisingly insulating. Many homeless individuals have perfected the art of fashioning cardboard into makeshift shelters, layering pieces for extra warmth and protection against wind and rain. But cardboard is just the beginning. Tarps, often discarded or overlooked, are another treasure trove. They're waterproof and durable, making them an excellent material for roofs or walls. String them up between trees or drape them over a frame made from scavenged wood or metal. It's all about utilizing what's readily available and making the most out of it. Scavenged wood is another resource. Pallets can be transformed into sturdy, albeit rudimentary structures. Even fallen branches can be utilized, woven together to create a windbreak or a roof. The key is to remain resourceful, to see potential shelter in every discarded item. Remember, shelter is not just about protection from the weather. It's about security, about creating a space where you can rest and recuperate. Look for secluded spots, places that offer some degree of concealment. Underneath bridges, in the recesses of abandoned buildings, or in the thick of an urban forest. These are the places where you can build your sanctuary, hidden from prying eyes, and don't forget about insulation. Newspapers, plastic bags, even leaves can provide an extra layer of warmth when tucked into the walls of your shelter. A little creativity can go a long way in maintaining your comfort and ultimately your survival. With the right materials and knowledge, a safe shelter can be built anywhere. It's about resilience, about adapting to your surroundings and turning the urban jungle into a home, even if it's just for a night. How do you stay warm when you don't have access to traditional heating methods? It's a chilling question, isn't it? But for those living on the streets, it's a harsh reality they face every day, particularly during the colder months. Like a game of chess, Survival without conventional heating is all about strategy, creativity, and understanding the materials at your disposal. First, let's talk about layering. We're not just talking about clothes here, but unconventional materials like newspapers. You see, newspapers are not just for catching up on the latest news. When inserted between layers of clothing, newspapers act as a barrier, trapping body heat and providing an extra layer of insulation against the cold. But what if it's more than just a little chilly? What if we're talking freezing temperatures? This is where emergency blankets, also known as space blankets, come into play. These compact, lightweight blankets are made from heat-reflective, thin plastic sheeting, designed to retain up to 90% of your body heat. They're a lifesaver, literally, when the mercury plummets. And speaking of reflection, reflective surfaces can be a game-changer in a battle against the cold. By positioning yourself near a reflective surface, like a wall or a large rock, you can harness the heat from the sun, even in winter. This technique works best when the sun is low in the sky and the reflected heat can provide a much-needed boost to your body temperature. But remember, staying warm is not just about the physical, it's also about the mental. It's about staying positive, keeping your spirits high, and never losing hope, even in the toughest of times. It's about understanding that the human spirit, just like a small flame, can provide warmth in the coldest of situations. The ability to stay warm without conventional heating is essential for survival in cold climates. And as we've seen, it's not just about having the right equipment, but also about using your creativity and resourcefulness. It's about turning the ordinary into the extraordinary, turning a newspaper into a lifesaver. And in the end, it's about understanding that survival is not just about staying alive, but about the will to keep going no matter what. And as we've seen, the survival skills of the homeless are not just about getting through another day. They're about resourcefulness, like turning plastic bags into insulating layers. They're about stealth navigation in urban environments, understanding the ebb and flow of the city to stay safe and hidden. They're about the power of barter and trade, exchanging skills and found items for life's necessities. They're about urban foraging, finding sustenance in overlooked places. They're about building shelter from the ground up, using what's available to create a refuge. And they're about staying warm without heating, using layers and reflective surfaces to retain body heat. Each of these skills, honed in the crucible of homelessness, can be essential in survival scenarios. These skills are about resilience and ingenuity in the face of extreme adversity. They are the skills that could make the difference between life and death in our uncertain future.